Hello everyone, my name is Anja Groten. I contributed to the Making Matters book in several ways. For instance, I was part of the editorial group. I also contributed 2 terms, and together with the Hackers and Designers Collective, I worked on the design of the book, which is what I want to share some insights about today. And while I'm going through my slides, I will probably move to the background. So Hackers and Designers is a group collective of currently 9 members who, and the people involved, they work at the intersection of design, art, education, computer programming. And for the publication, we worked with 4 of us. So there's me, Anja Groten, Herko von der Kooi, Juliette Lisott, and Karl Mubarak. With Hackers and Designers, we organize workshops, experimental learning environments, and also we like to experiment with publishing tools. We build and use and misuse tools and platforms for making online and paper publications. So as a collective, we made different self-published books before, and usually these kind of experimental publishing tools we build, they evolve along with the content and the design of publications. We have experimented with generative design and random design output, HTML to print, speech to text, heartbeat to print, conductive ink to create electronic circuits with books. And this book, the Making Matters publication, in a way is a continuation of these publishing experiments. But also, it was quite a different scale for us to work with, and very exciting. So the design and the design process happened in the browser actually. So the content was all added to a media wiki. That's where we added and changed the markup and also added styles to different content types. And so it's kind of our backend for the book. So on the right, you see how the content and the markup would be rendered in the browser as a book spread. And here you see the table of contents and how it looked in the back end and on the front end. And here you see the CSS panel. That's where we defined what certain content types look like in the front end and eventually in the PDF and in the printed publication. So the book is divided into 7 different categories, chapters that give also a bit of an aid to the reader. These categories contextualize the terms and relate them to each other. So we thought that was a really nice and generous gesture towards the reader, which we also wanted to highlight in the design. So for instance, we added we added different visual gestures to these categories. For instance, you see different arrows next to the categories, bodies, collective, critique, and so forth, that indicate the categories throughout the book. And there's also a kind of tab system on the side that also helps the reader to navigate through the book, and there's a kind of color coding for each category. So yes, each category has a different color, and the colors are all made up of the same 3 colors basically, which are mixed differently every time. Yes, so we also really like that the terms do not solely belong to one category, but they kind of spill over into different categories and even different entries. And you will see that there are even multiple entries for the same term. So it's not a possessive or fixed form of categorization, which we wanted to make visible by using, also by using ambiguous colors in a way. So colors that are not clearly definable as either blue or brown or gray, but that may be interpreted in different ways. And you will also see even more obviously when you have the book in your hands that we mix the colors in a way that creates a soft gradient throughout the whole book, and also that creates actually the situation that every spread has its own unique color. So you will see that the arrows that I mentioned before, they return throughout the contributions as a kind of indication if terms that are defined somewhere in the book appear. And because they are all different looking, you get also an indication which categories these terms belong to. And here you also see that the tabs of the navigation, they sometimes have blobs poking out, and this is also a kind of more subtle way of indicating here's a term somewhere in the text that has a definition in the book. Yes, here you see also a bit the different sort of color schemes, also much better visible, of course, in the printed publication. So maybe it's nice to mention also again that this book is designed using open source free and libre software, and all the typefaces are also free or open source, and it's also good to mention that this kind of way of designing books in the browser is building forth on the work of many designers and developers working in this way, and also working with and contributing to open source software and open source design mentalities and practices. So our the tool, the things we build around making this publication is all documented online. So for those who are interested, feel free to visit the documentation and reuse anything. And I also wanted to announce that we are with Hackers and Designers, we're going to give a workshop also at Documenta on the 28th of July. It's going to be a informal walk-in workshop, and people get to play with one of our experimental publishing tools and contribute to a distributed and decentralized publishing process. Yes, so here's me again. Yes, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the publication.